Good morning, Year 9. I hope you're well and having a lovely day. Please could you write the date and title? The title is The Lottery Part 2. So let's go through your Do Now questions. What associations do you normally have with the idea of a lottery? How does this story contradict those ideas? And what clues are there on this book cover that this story will not be about a normal lottery? Pause the video for 5 minutes to make sure you've written the date and title and you've answered these Do Now questions. Okay, so normally a lottery would be associated with winning money or prizes, and there'd be feelings of happiness at winning. In this lottery, the winning ticket is the exact opposite of a normal lottery. If you get the black mark, you are stoned to death. The cover is black, which suggests death or evil. The cross is red, suggesting blood or death. Jot down these ideas if you didn't have them down already. Analysis. Please could you have a copy of the story in front of you and answer the following questions. Pause the video to do this now. Make sure you've written down the answers in your book. Okay, so these are the answers. Please read through them to make sure you've got them right. If you didn't get them right, can you make sure you correct them and write down the right answers? So what I'd like you to do now is we'll read through this passage together and we're going to be thinking about how does Jackson create a sense of unease in this passage. And then you're going to underline words or phrases which show tension and identify any specific techniques. Soon the men began to gather, surveying their own children, speaking of planting and rain, tractors and taxes. They stood together, away from the pile of stones in the corner, and their jokes were quiet, and they smiled rather than laughed. The women, wearing faded house dresses and sweaters, came shortly after their menfolk. They greeted one another and exchanged bits of gossip as they went to join their husbands. Soon the women, standing by their husbands, began to call to their children, and the children came reluctantly, having to be called 4 or 5 times. Bobby Martin ducked under his mother's grasping hand and ran, laughing, back to the pile of stones. His father spoke up sharply, and Bobby came back quickly and took his place between his father and his oldest brother. So pause the video now to underline words or phrases that show tension. If you can, could you annotate with any specific techniques? Pause the video and do that now. So I've now underlined the sections that show tension. So how does Jackson create a sense of unease or tension in this passage? Let's go through the language and structure points you may have picked out. The men arriving first creates a dark mood, a suggestion of violence, because there are no women or children. The word gather implies a group coming together, and in this context seems as if it is for no good purpose. Use of the word surveying is quite formal, considering that they are looking over their kids, suggesting the mood will change. They stand away from the stones, suggesting they don't want to be connected with their purpose. They only smile, not laugh, showing that the mood is not happy. The children come reluctantly and have to be called 4 or 5 times, showing that they don't want to face what is going to happen. Bobby Martin ducks, foreshadowing the person being stoned ducking away from the stones. His mother's hand is grasping, showing that she will want to hang on to him tightly in case he gets picked. His father spoke sharply, showing tension. He took his place, showing there is an expected order to the events, which everyone must follow or there'll be trouble. So that's language. In terms of structure, the order of how people gather: men gather, then women, then children, as if building to a great event. You've got repeated reference to the stones, so use of repetition, and the contrast or juxtaposition of Bobby Martin laughing and the pile of stones. So please pause the video to make a note of these points. Okay, so what I'd like to do is choose one of the features that has been identified and write up a response. So you can choose any of the language points, any of the structural points, and I would advise that you use a peel structure, as we always do for language and structural analysis. What's the point? How do you evidence that point with a quote? Then you can talk about the language or structure device and what effect it has. Then you can talk about how the reader feels. So this is an example. The writer creates a feeling of unease through the order in which she describes people arriving in the square. The men arrive first, and then the women and children, as if building up to an important event. The fact the men are shown to gather, which suggests that they are in a kind of group or gang, creates unease, as in this context it suggests they may be about to take part in the violence. This makes the reader anticipate that something bad is going to happen. So that's the kind of thing I'd like you to write. So pause the video and write a similar paragraph for your own language or structure point. Please do that now. So that brings us to the end of today's lesson. In terms of what I would like you to upload to Class Starts, please could you upload your analysis paragraph where you analyse language or structure, talking about how they're used to create tension in the passage. So thank you very much for your hard work today. I look forward to speaking to you again next lesson. Have a lovely rest of your day.